So to our top story this morning, the government will announce a new police task force today to tackle grooming gangs as part of a set of new measures designed to protect women and girls.
Well, the plan will also include tougher sentences for members of grooming gangs, with the Prime Minister pledging not to let political correctness get in the way of the crackdown.
Well, joining us now for more is the former Special Advisor Michael Gove, Charlie Rowley. Charlie, top of the morning to you. So this has been a long time coming, making a lot of headlines today, with a particular emphasis on the political correctness element, and particularly the historic connection between British Pakistani men. It's ruffled a few feathers, this. Is it the right thing to do, or is it overly provocative?
I think it is. No, I think it's totally the right thing to do. And I think, as the Home Secretary set out in her article yesterday, that for too long it seems that this has been something that's been going on in society that might not have had the attention or the media attention that it deserves. There are thousands of people year on year that are victims of child sexual abuse. Justice needs to be brought for those victims. And I think as part of the package that is being announced later today by the Prime Minister, it is all about making sure that that justice is served to those victims and those perpetrators are brought to justice.
So what do we know about the details, Charlie? So we're talking about tougher sentencing and also support for local forces. What do you think this is going to look like?
So I think it'll be a series of measures that are coming forward, essentially to make sure that if you are in a position of responsibility, if you are in a duty of care or a position that is safeguarding for young people, so if you're a teacher, doctor, social worker, a care worker, then you have a statutory obligation to report any suspected child abuse that you think is taking place, and that the law will be on your side, effectively. I don't think it's something that people should be in fear of, thinking that, you know, if they're in that position of responsibility, that they've got more work to do. I think it's safeguarding them to make sure that they have the confidence and the ability to come forward to report what they might think is, even if they just think it is, a sexual exploitation or grooming of young people, in order to make sure that those children and the most vulnerable people are protected.
It's taken a long time to get to this moment. 2011, this first broke. The Times newspaper broke this. We have Rotherham, Rochdale, Telford, Newcastle, a litany of abandoned towns. South Yorkshire Police coming in for lots of criticism because they were actively campaigning against investigations because of this fear of racism. So this must be a step in the right direction.
I think that's totally right, and I think it is absolutely a step in the right direction. And it's only because, as you say, this scandal first broke in 2011, years ago. And, you know, since then, there are still these gangs operating in this country. They absolutely need to be sort of broken up, and those people need to be brought to justice. But it's only by giving the strength and the confidence to people like the police and the local authorities that were well aware of what was going on, but just too afraid to come forward because of that allegation that might be labelled at you for being racist, if it is particularly against a particular community. And as you say, in Rotherham, it was British Pakistani men that were wholly responsible for these criminal gangs, and we need to stamp that out.
The plan is going to see ethnicity data being used by the police in investigating these grooming gangs. And we heard Suella Braverman talk about this yesterday, and she singled out British Pakistani men, didn't she, over her concerns about grooming gangs. She accused the authorities of turning a blind eye. And then we saw Rishi Sunak come out and say a similar sort of thing, saying that political correctness is not going to get in the way of this crackdown. They have the same rhetoric when it comes to this, don't they?
I think that's right, and I think, look, it's important to state from the offset that, you know, child abuse is happening, sadly, everywhere, and, you know, there are people from all backgrounds, whether it's white men that are grooming young girls, particularly online. It is happening everywhere, but there is a particular problem in particular communities, like the case of Rotherham, that for too long hasn't been addressed, clearly, because it's still going on and it's still very prevalent in this country, which is why I think the Home Secretary and the Prime Minister are absolutely right to make it very clear to anybody of any colour, any creed, any religion, any institution, that if you are taking part in a child sexual exploitation, if you're part of a gang, a grooming gang, then there will absolutely be no place in society for it, and you'll be brought to justice.